Stryder Janich, also known by his artist name Docs, is a 19-year-old electronic music producer with a penchant for creativity and a hidden identity in the music landscape. And he's on the line with us here just now. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. So, can you tell us a bit about how you got started in the world of electronic music?
Well, yeah, of course. Growing up in the early 2000s, there was Daft Punk and Discovery, and there was all those different bands back then that just started using music without loops and just like sampling from old songs. And I really love that. And I got to the age in like 2021, I was about like 16 years old, and I just picked up my first sampler and I started messing around with it. And I'm like, I really like this. I want to do this. And here I am today. I'm on Spotify and just keep growing my fan base every single year. So.
Yeah. And Daft Punk and the Glitch Mob have been some big influences on your music since the start. So, how have these artists inspired your sound?
They've inspired me by a lot. I mean, just like the use of vocoders that Daft Punk always use, like that's just a very uncommon thing to do. And when you use it in songs, it just sounds so like you can tell like the effort that's put into it. And for Glitch Mob, like the use of synthesizers and all the coding that takes place, it's just like when people take effort into like making the music from modular synths to all that stuff, it just like it brings a whole level of creativity in myself. So I want to show that to other people.
Yeah. And are there any specific tracks or albums that have had that profound impact on your musical journey?
And Jesus by Kanye West was a really great experimental track. The synthesizers in that one was nuts. Random Access Memories by Daft Punk, probably my favorite album of all time. It was recorded using analog machines in 2012, which is unheard of because it takes slicing and all the tape stuff, and that's really cool. Any monumental album that I see that's using like actual effort and making an unknown landscape when they do it, it's just like I appreciate that and I respect that so much. So
yeah, absolutely. And much like Daft Punk, which is one of your influences, you've embraced a bit of a hidden identity in music. So what led you to make that choice?
Well, if everything goes right, maybe someday I'll be able to walk on the subway and not be noticed, but still be able to do like a $50,000 crowded tour and be able to do all those things without having people know who I am and keep like my marriage outside and anything that's like personal away from music and have my own like little secret identity and rollouts and stuff like that. So that's the goal.
Yeah. And how does it influence your approach to connecting with your audience? Do you feel like you're able to connect with them as much when you're anonymous?
It might be even more, honestly, because you have this secret identity that nobody knows who you are and they want to connect with you. And when you have the rollouts and you have all the music videos and all that stuff piled up, it teases them. It gets them excited. They want to know you more. And when you have the merch lineup, it's like part of the whole entire story that's going on. And I really love that part. So I feel like it is just as close, if not closer.
Yeah. And a significant portion of your fan base is actually from where Daft Punk are from, which is France. So
yes.
What do you think it is about your music that resonates so well with the French listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the other day. I think Paris has like I don't know how many listeners are there, like 90 or so like that. But that's just in that one area. But I love the whole French connection, the whole atmosphere of Paris, even the fashion and stuff like that. So I'm really happy to have that part in my fan base, and the whole French connection, which is French House, which started in the 90s by Thomas Bangalter and Guy Man. That whole connection is what I like want to pursue myself. And having that fan base that loves that music, that soul sampling music, that's what I really want to do. Like the way it sounds is just so like it's French house, it's French music and French touch. So
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And have you had the chance to perform in France or interact with your French fans in any unique way?
No, I have not yet, but I am planning something special for 2024 to just appreciate all fans and stuff like that. But I have not been on tour yet. I am 19 years old. I'm planning on it someday. We'll just see where it takes me,
Yeah. So what's this thing you're planning in 2024? Is it very secretive?
Let's just say a lot of singles will be out in 2024, to say the least. Yes.
Well, that's exciting. And when you're creating these singles, how do you approach creating a new track?
Just like feeling inspiration from it and feeling like the whole entire creativity part of it first most. And I know it's kind of selfish, but knowing that like I'll love the track myself, and then after putting the fans second, that's all I do. So if I know the track is going to sound great for myself and it just sounds different, it doesn't sound like a normal track you hear in the today's radio, I'll love it. And then I hope the fans will embrace it as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And are there any specific rituals or routines that help you get in the creative zone?
just watching like old tours, old bands just playing on tour and seeing the fans like jump with no cell phones out, no distractions, just having like a great time. That really inspires me to start moving or watching documentaries. Like I watched the Kanye West documentary the other day, and that one just started getting me creative with my flows and my drums,
Ooh.
all that stuff. Just watching other artists do it and do it my own way after watching them. So
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned that there's a lot of singles coming up in 2024. So, can you give us a sneak peek into what is coming up next in your music career, whether it's 2024 or beyond that?
right. Yes. So every single year I have these goals I write down. I've had it since 2021, which I first started on Spotify. And pretty much it just keeps me like accountable to what I'm trying to go for, like stream wise, listener wise. And 2024 is what I've really been building up since I was 16, just building up that level of fans. And I'm really going to go after it. 2024, I'm starting right now, just trying to get my name heard, all that stuff. And 2024, I will have a lot of singles coming out just to build the hype, send it to labels, send it to fans, send it to playlists, just boost all my streams and all that stuff, just fully get my name out there, because the past few years I've been grinding underneath so people don't see like the songs that aren't fully done, and I waited for them to hear it when it's fully done and when it sounds perfect in my ears.
Absolutely. And you've had quite the success as well, because you've achieved 54,000 streams and 10,000 listeners in 2023. So, what do you attribute this success to?
Honestly, man, like the whole story, the whole music thing, the reason I do it's for my brother. He passed away, sadly. His name was Mordox. And I just like, I know he'd be so proud of me that I was doing this. And honestly, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to share my name, share my image. And I'm just super proud of like my whole team. My whole team has been back here, helped me with the streams and the listeners. And they're great. You know, I'm independent, but I feel like I still have a label with the amount of like helpers I have in my team. So
Yeah. And you mentioned that your brother's name was Mordox and your music name is Dox. So
exactly, yes.
is there a connection there?
There's a big connection. Yes, I took off the Mordox because that was actually his gamer tag, and his music name was Mordox. And I was like, what do I do to like make this known? Because I don't want to be a copy of Mordox. I'd like to do Dox.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So now it's Dox. And I like the name. I'm going to keep it like that. Simple. Dox. Dox. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got a love for art as well as music. So how do these two creative realms intersect in your work?
Yes, I love this question. Art is amazing. Like any source of art is like terrific. Virgil was one of my favorite artists. He sadly passed away, but all this art he did with Louis Vuitton and all the off-white stuff like that was just, it was great. But when you mix art with a music rollout or a music album, it is even better. I know they have merch, right? They have merch, but like when you create something that's like somehow part of the album in like a piece of clothing, a towel, a vinyl, it's just like 10 times better. It just like shows the fans that you really, really are dedicated. I love art. I love conceptual art, like any kind of art, physical art. And that's what I really want to bring in 2024 and 2025 is physical art, not just merch, not just clothing, but like actual physical pieces, like maybe a designer set or just even like a house plant, like pot and stuff like that. Just figuring out different things that fans can have that make them feel special.
Yeah. And you've been in kind of making waves in the electronic music scene for a couple of years now. So how do you perceive the current state of music, especially in the electronic genre?
I love it and I hate it. There's just like, there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of people, and say what you want about loops and samples. It gets to a point where you just know it's just a song that's been used on Splice or Looperman, and you know, it kind of is annoying, but there's a lot of artists out there who are really embracing the electronic music and making it their own. Going back to like the 90s with samplers, that's really what I'm really going towards, is using samplers and just maybe using new loops with old samples and, you know, making my own music from it, not just using it and then making it out. Like the Wannabe song I released, that had tons of samples, and I put my voice over the samples and chopped it up and made it my own track using some samples from 2023.
Oh, yes. And are there any trends or developments that excite you in music today?
That's a good question. I TikTok is really a really great way for artists to get exposure. I think it's a pretty good way to boost fans and stuff like that. But my favorite way right now to boost like notice and recognition is QR codes. So I'll print a QR code and I'll just like stick it anywhere in Memphis. I live in Memphis, and people will scan the QR code, go to my music, and fund me and all that stuff. And those kind of new things weren't really available like even 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see artists get recognition in those ways now. Not just using a label or a publisher to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've got a song called Wannabe that's out now. So, what was it that inspired this particular track?
That was Jesus again. I was listening to the song on Jesus called Black Skin. It was a really great song, and the drums on it are crazy. That's what I inspired the first track of the drums, the first part of the drums, and then the vocoder came in, and I just thought about Daft Punk. Of course, I'm gonna add a vocoder with a little rap and a female vocal and a guitar solo, just all those things just combining into like a universal song. That's what I was going for, just something nuts.
Yeah. And is there a particular story or message behind it that you'd want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, there is a journey. It starts with the drums in the beginning. It's kind of like a war, and then it goes into the soft girl singing, "You wanna be, you wanna be," and then it goes into a robot vocoder, which is just singing "Feel It in My Heart" over and over because you really want to feel it, make it feel real. And then at the end of the song, there's a guitar solo, and that's where everything comes together. Someone's like, it's just like a madness, and then it fades out and ends. So just like a whole little story in like a song. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what are your goals kind of long term in music? Do you have any ambitions that you want to achieve?
yeah, of course. Some of my goals for the next even 5 years, I wrote them down. Really, I want to boost my listeners on Spotify. This year, even I want to get to 100,000 listeners this year, and I know it's a big number. I have 2,000 or so right now, but just the more songs are released, the more fans will come. But really, in all reality, the biggest goal I really want in the next like 5 years or whatever is to just have people that love my music, and a lot of them, to say the
Yeah.
least. So people that feel inspired, people that are true fans, buy my merch, buy my clothing, all that stuff. By my art, like we said earlier, all those things, like just having people that love my music and not me is what I really aim for. So, and telling my story. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where are we able to find all the music that you've came out with so far?
of course, it is on my Instagram. My Instagram is at Docs Music Official, or you can go on Spotify, look up Docs. It's all there. I released a fan album 2 years ago called Epilogue, and you'll see all my music there.
Brilliant. Well, many thanks for talking to us. It's been great to have you on the show today.
Yeah, you too, man.